What's up guys, it's the new sensation, Bigger Notation here, and today I'm bringing back the in-person deck profiles, and we've got a set 6 blue Majin Buu deck profile, just kick things right back off with the content again. I want to apologise for the lack of content on the channel recently. I've been sorting out my new PC, and the last piece that I'm missing is my hard drive, so it's making recording videos a little bit tricky. But for now, I'm doing a couple of things to work around it. So you might have seen recently, I've been posting some highlights from my streams because I've been able to start streaming again. So you can check me out on Twitch under Bigger Notation 245. I'll have a link to that down below. But recently I've been posting highlights, and for now I'm going to be doing a little bit of a workaround to try and keep some videos coming fairly regularly to you guys. So apologies if the audio or video quality is slightly off, although I mean hopefully it's slightly better with the new PC now. But we'll just kick things straight off with the set 6 Majin Buu deck. I've been enjoying this deck a lot recently. It's definitely not a competitive deck, but it's a really fun one to play, maybe at a locals or just for some casual games. It's really fun, and it can do a lot of fun things. So to start off with the leader, it has a permanent on both sides where you can't send cards from your drop area to your warp, which is kind of a shame because overround would be really fun in this deck, just being able to make even more of an aggressive push. This is one of the very few aggressive blue decks that I would say are in the game. This is like a properly aggressive deck, in my opinion. And so overrun would obviously really help that out. Then it has an auto. When this card attacks, you draw a card, which is very nice, just for very standard for keeping your hand very nicely healthy. And then the activate main is where things get interesting with this leader. Once per turn, you burst 3. You choose one of your energy and place it into your drop area, and then you put a Majin Buu card from your drop area into your energy in rest mode. So this is obviously why you can't be sending cards from your drop areas to your warp, because the burst 3 would make for some very easy overwhelms, and that would kind of detract from the color identity of black, because that's kind of what a lot of black leaders do. And then so being able to then do that in a blue leader would feel a little bit off in terms of color design, I think, which is probably the reason why they added the permanent on. But there's a lot of things that you can do with that activate main, and that's kind of what gets your engine going, so you'll kind of see that as we go through the deck profile. So it's very important to keep that activate main in mind, because you want to keep in mind that you're basically always able to switch out the cards in your energy, and there's a lot of cards that play from energy in this deck. And then the awaken condition is pretty standard. When your life is at 4 or less, you draw a card, you untap 1, and then flip this card over. On the back side, not a huge amount really changes. It maintains the permanent. Its new on attack auto is a sparking 7, which should always be live because you're bursting 3 almost every turn. When it attacks, you draw a card, and then the leader gains plus 5k. So getting those 20k swings in just for some extra pressure is really nice. Then the activate main turns into, you choose one of your energy, you place the card in the drop area, and then you replace it with a Majin Buu. So there's no burst 3 attached to the backside activate main, which is nice, which means you won't be decking yourself out once you're awakened, which really happens way too much in this deck, because it takes a while to awaken. There's not much self-awakening, at least inbuilt in the leader, and so you often go down to 10 or less cards in deck by the end of most games with this deck. Even if you end the game early, you just naturally mill yourself quite quickly, and the deck draws a fair few cards too. So that's the leader, and it's very important to keep in mind as we go through the deck profile, you can switch out your energy once per turn, so you're just able to keep getting the right cards into your energy whenever you need to. But to start things off, we've got 4 of the new 1-drop. This deck is one of the decks that got support in the evolution booster, and this 1-drop is one of those cards. And the support is really helpful for the deck. It fixed a lot of its problems. So this 1-drop is very simple. When you play it, you draw a card, and then it has an activate main for 3 blue. If all cards in your leader area and energy area are mono blue, and your opponent has 3 or more energy, so most of the time you're getting this off on your turn 3 or turn 4, you can play a blue Majin Buu with an energy cost of 7 from your energy area. Then you place this card into your energy area in rest mode, so you're not losing the energy for the rest of the game, which is really nice. And then place up to one Son Gohan Adolescence card with an energy cost of 4 or less from your deck in your drop area and shuffle your deck. But then you can only play blue Majin Buu battle cards for the turn, which is an important restriction to note, because this is often an effect that you want to get off at the start of your turn, because you want to get those big 7-drop swings in very early in the turn, before you get like Floodgate negated out. And so bearing that restriction in mind is very important. So this 1-drop is really, really nice for the deck, because not only is it a simple cantrip, but it can also get your really big plays going later in the game if it survives, or if you draw it later on. And it's important to note that it can send the Gohan Adolescence card from your deck to your drop, because your 7-drop that you'll be playing off of this gains some effects if you have that Gohan Adolescence card, which we'll get into once we go over the 7-drop, of course. But for our other turn 1 plays, we also have 4 of this Majin Buu, Prelude to Villainy. He has an auto when he's played, you burst 3, and then you take a life. So he doesn't really inherently plus you. I guess you're getting an extra card into your hand, but it's from your life. So in theory, you'd be getting it into your hand anyway. So it's not really the same as drawing a card. But you kind of need to run this card because your leader doesn't have any Self-Awakening, and this is most of the Self-Awakening in the deck. And as I said before, this is more of an aggressive blue deck, so you actually need to be awakening early if you can. But its second activate main is also really, its second effect is really nice, which is an activate main, which is you choose a blue Majin Buu card in your energy area other than copies of this card, add it to your hand, and then you put this card from your field into your energy area in rest mode. So most of the cards that are like messing with your energy are replacing your energy, so that you don't go an energy behind for the game, which is really helpful. But this just gives you the utility of going, oh, I've milled a Majin Buu that I wanted in my hand actually, off of my leader effect, so I'm gonna put it back into my energy from my drop area from leader, and then I have this guy on the board, so I'm gonna put this into my energy from the field, and then grab the card back from my hand, or to my hand from the energy. So this just gives you that flexibility of, even if you mill your good cards in all of your targets, you just grab them effectively straight back from the drop area, or even if you have them just stuck in your energy, you can grab them back later on with this. Just quite a flexible card in that sense, and the Self-Awakening is also really helpful for the deck. And then for the rest of our turn 1 plays, there's a lot of really strong turn 1 plays in this deck. But this is honestly one of the main ones, is this 3-drop. This is the other evolution booster card, and he has an auto of, if your leader is blue, when this card in your energy area is placed in your drop area by your leader card's skill, play this card from your drop area, then you send a blue Gotenks that costs 4 or less from your deck to your drop area. So effectively what this means is, if this card is in your energy area and you send it to the drop area from your leader's effect when you're replacing your energy from drop, you get to play him and then send the Gotenks from your deck to your drop. And the Gotenks is another important piece to have in the drop, because the Gotenks and the Gohan are the 2 cards that get absorbed by the Big Boos to get their bonus effects. And then the rest of this guy's effects is also really helpful. He has an activate main for 1 blue. You send this card to its owner's warp, which you can do because it sends it from the field to the warp, not from the drop area to the warp, so it does get around the leader's permanent. Then you choose a Prodigious Absorption Majin Buu in your energy area, which is your 4-drop. Play the chosen card, and then place the top card from your deck into your energy area in rest mode, so you're replacing your energy again. So effectively what this means is, from turn 1 you can charge this from your hand, play a 1-drop if you have one, and then use your leader's effect to send this from the energy to the drop, and then replace it with something else. Play this guy out from the drop, and then going into the next turn, you can then tap 1 energy to play out your 4-drop from the energy area. So this card is really, really nice for getting the deck going. Like I said, the Evolution Booster support is really what helps this deck go. Because the 3-drop is effectively just a 1 energy way into the 4-drop, and then the 1-drop is effectively a 3 energy way into the 7-drop, or a 4 energy if you want to count the turn 1 energy that you're using. And then for the final turn 1 play, I'm running 3 Dawn of Evil. So what this card does is, when you activate this card, you can't activate copies of the card for the turn, which is part of the reason why I'm only running 3 copies, not 4. If your leader is a Majin card, look at the top 10 cards of your deck. Choose one Majin Buu card with an energy cost of 3 or less among them, add it to your hand, then shuffle your deck, and if you added a card to your hand, you get to untap a blue energy. So effectively what this is a 0 mana way to search for any of the cards that we just went through, and a couple of cards later on in the deck. There's a lot of targets in this deck for the Dawn of Evil, so you're never going to whiff off of it. You'd be extremely unlucky to do so, because you're searching top 10, and there's not very many top 10 searches in the game. Pretty much the only reason that we're only running 3 of this and not 4 is because of the once per turn restriction on it. Otherwise, we'd probably be running 4 copies, just because a 0 mana search, the top 10 is super nice. But then going into the actual plays of the deck, we have 4 copies of the Prodigious Absorption Majin Buu. So this is the 4-drop card that you're bringing from the 3-drop. He has Barrier 20k, so you know he's going to be sticking about once he is on the board, which is really nice. When this card is played from an energy area, choose one battle card in your drop area and place it under this card. Most of the time, the card that you're going to be choosing is the Gotenks that you're sending off of your 3-drop. So remember, when the 3-drop is played, you send a Gotenks from your deck to your drop. And then when this guy is played, you can stick the Gotenks underneath him, because the 3-drop plays this guy out. So the 3-drop basically sets all of this stuff up, because it sends the Gotenks and it's going to be playing this guy out. Then this card has an activate main once per turn. If there is a Gotenks card under this card, you play a Majin token, which is a 15k power, 5k combo power, 0 cost combo cost token, which is really helpful because this is going to be happening every single turn that this card sticks on the board. It's got barrier, so it's almost guaranteed to stick on the board. And so every turn is just spawning a 15k swing for you or a 5k combo for you, depending on whether you want to swing with it or not, which is insanely nice for this deck. And then the fact that this isn't even like a limit 1 effect at all, so you can bring out multiple copies of this 4-drop and then start spawning 2 or 3 15k swings every single turn. The only thing that really limits this card is how many Gotenks cards you can stack into your drop area, and in this deck we're running 4 different we're running 4 Gotenkses. So it's definitely possible that you can get all 4 of these guys out with a Gotenks underneath them, and then start spawning in 4 tokens every single turn. But this card is basically what carries your early game, because you're getting a lot of value from this one card, and it effectively comes down for 1 energy in total, because your 3-drop plays it for 1 and your 3-drop plays itself for free. And then it has a final effect which you don't use all that often, but it's nice to have, which is an activate main for 3 blue and 1 of any color. Your leader is a Majin card. You choose one Majin Buu card with an energy cost of 7 in your energy area and play it. And if you played a card, you add this card to your energy in rest mode. So it's very similar to the 1-drops effect that plays the 7-drop from your energy area, except the 1-drop is going to set up your 7-drop effects by putting the Gohan in the drop. This card isn't. This card costs 1 more energy, and then if you're using this card to bring out the 7-drop, you're losing this card from your board. So it's effectively a worse way to bring out the 7-drop, so you'd much rather use the 1-drop to bring it out. But it's nice to have if you don't have the option of getting into that 1-drop in any way and you want the 7-drop out like immediately. But this card is mostly just used for the insane value and pressure that it provides with spawning a token every single turn. And then the Gotenks that I'm running, or the first Gotenks that I'm running, I should say, is 2 copies of Gotenks battling the forces of evil. This is just because it's the best Gotenks in blue that costs 4 or less for now. It doesn't hugely come up the where you play the card, but it can come up, and it's like actually quite a strong card for playing it as well. So it's a 4-drop 20k deflect double strike barrier, and it has an effect once per turn. When your opponent activates a counter skill during a battle with this card, choose all of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, return them to the owner's hand, and then untap 2 mono blue energy. So it's quite nice if your opponent is on 2 life, they don't have any blockers or anything, you just kind of slam this guy down. He's deflect barrier, so you know he's going to stick unless you're playing against like a yellow deck with Final Flash. And then you just swing with him if your opponent's on 2 life. So there are definitely situations where he comes up, but most of the time you're just sending him to the drop with your 3-drop effect, or you're just hoping to get him in the drop off your leader effect. And then for the 7-drop boos, I've got 4 of Ultimate Absorption Majin Buu. This is your main kind of win condition, or the start of the main win conditions for the deck, is this guy. So he's a 25k triple striker. First off, triple strike is obviously very nice, and we don't see too many triple strikers this day and age. Most of the big hitters are generally just like double strikers that gain a load of additional value. But having a triple striker is really nice because often people feel a lot safer to go down to 3 than they do 2. This guy has an effect when this card is played from an energy area. You choose a battle card in your drop area, place it under this card, and then untap a blue energy. So that's obviously really nice because you're most of the time going to be playing this off of your 1-drop, and if not, then you play it off your 4-drop. And so that means this guy's coming out for 1 energy cheaper. So if you're playing it off your 1-drop, this guy effectively costs 2 energy on the turn that you play it. And then most of the time you're going to be sticking your Gohan underneath it because you get extra effects for having the Gohan in, similar to the 4-drop with the Gotenks stuff. So his second auto is once per turn, when this card attacks, if there is a Son Gohan Adolescence card placed under this card, which there will be because the 1-drop sends it to your drop area when you bring out this card, and then this guy absorbs it from your drop area. So the 1-drop sets all of this stuff up, just like with the 3-drop for the 4-drop chain. So if you have that card under this card, when he attacks, you choose one of your opponent's battle cards, place it under this card, and then switch this card to active mode. So obviously that's insanely nice. It gives you some built-in removal, and it also means that you're effectively dropping a 25k triple strike dual attacker on turn 3 or turn 4 if you can, which is obviously really, really nice of a play. And something else important to note is, I know that there was a lot of changes with the rulings recently, where if you take a card from your opponent's battle area and you steal it and put it in your battle area with like a card like Heroine's Lineage, your opponent now triggers the auto of cards that say, like, if this was removed from a battle area by a skill, such as the 9-drop Sin. But I believe the way that they've ruled it is if you're placing a card from your opponent's battle area underneath one of your cards, so like with this card, you then get the chance to resolve the auto. So situationally that does come up. Say if you're playing against a Sin Shenron deck, you can eat their 9-drop Sin once you have the skills back on this guy, and then just draw 2 for free, which is really nice. But this is where your main win conditions of the deck start to show themselves, because you have a big triple striker that swings twice and removes guys. And it's also important to note this is pretty much the only form of removal in this deck, because we're playing a blue deck, so it doesn't have, or blue didn't have the most efficient removal back in the day, before we started getting stuff that would let you bottom deck things. And so we don't really have much removal in this deck, and this is pretty much the only built-in removal that we have, other than like swinging over stuff. So that's important to note. This deck definitely struggles with actually removing things that kind of sit there and give long-term advantage. And then for our other main finisher of the deck, we have 2 copies of the Ultimate Evil Majin Buu. He is a 30k, he EX evolves for 1 blue by discarding 2 cards from your hand, over a Majin Buu that costs 5 or more. So the main target that we've seen so far is going to be our triple striker, but we also have one more target which I'm going to show in a second. This guy is also a triple striker, and he has the auto of when a card evolves into this card, switch this card to active mode, and it gains plus 30k power for the duration of the turn. So this is your main finisher if you're not killing them with the Ultimate Absorption Majin Buu, because you just pay 1 blue energy, discard 2 cards, slap this over your other 7-drop, and then you've got a 60k triple striker for 1 energy, which is very, very nice. And oftentimes what happens is if you like combo a little bit into your triple strike swings with this guy, if your opponent's on 3 life, then your opponent is often forced to use cards like Final Flash or any sort of like mid-battle disruption that they might have to try and negate the triple strike swing. And then you can kind of be like, oh no, that's all of the triple strike swings that I've got for the turn. What am I going to do? And then you slam this guy down after baiting all of their mid-battle disruption. and just kill them with a 60k triple striker. And then to facilitate the Ultimate Evil Majin Buu a little bit further, I'm also running 2 copies of Demonic Invasion Majin Buu, and he is a just 7-drop 30k, and he has a simple auto of when a Majin Buu card in your battle area with an energy cost of 6 or more is removed from your battle area by an opponent's skill, activate this skill. If you don't have a copy of this guy in your battle area already, you play this card from your hand. So what this basically means is, if you have your first 7-drop down, the Ultimate Absorption Majin Buu, this guy, and then he gets removed somehow, you slam this guy down, and then you still have an evolved target to slam this guy down. And once you get to that point in the game, it's really fun because you just kind of keep smashing down 7-drops on your opponent and hitting them with big triple strike swings, and it gets very, very silly. But it also means, like, if your opponent is running like Heroine's Lineage or something and steals your triple striker mid-battle, you can slap this guy down and then still be able to evolve over and make the 60k triple strike thing. Something else that's important to note is with the Ultimate Evil Majin Buu, you can actually keep evolving copies on top of itself because it's still a Majin Buu card that costs 5 or more. And if you do that, then the 30k power from the first Majin Buu will carry over to the second one. So the second one you evolve over is going to be effectively gaining 60k power, which has made me consider upping this card to 3 copies. But I feel like most of the time you just kill them on the first evolve of the Ultimate Evil. You often don't really need like a second or third. I feel like that's kind of just a win more strat, in my opinion. And then for the first Gohan we're playing, I'm playing 2 copies of the Great Saiyaman, Punisher of Evil. This card has never come up for me, but it is still the best Gohan Adolescence to be running, in my opinion. And you just kind of have to run it because you want to be having these guys in your drop area to eat with your 7-drop. Then to go on to another package I'm running 2 copies of this 2-drop Majin Buu. This is, in my opinion, probably the weakest card in the deck, and this is the card that I would want to cut to make space for any other cards. So if you guys are looking to change the deck about in any way, I would argue that this would be the card to cut if you're looking for other cards to fit in. He has an auto of when you play this card from your hand, you add back any blue Majin card from your drop area. So it's just fairly nice because you can recycle anything that you might mill off of your leader, which is a reason why we don't need to run 3 copies of this card. We can run 2 because we have easy accessibility to it, even if we keep milling it. But what makes this card slightly weaker is we already have the 1-drop from earlier that takes a life, and he can add back stuff from your energy, and then your leader can put stuff from your drop area into your energy. So you kind of don't really need this card to recycle cards if you already have that 1-drop, because you can do it for 1 energy cheaper. And then he has an activate main. If your leader is a Majin card, you choose a Majin Buu card with an energy cost of 3 from your energy area and play it, and then add this card to your energy area in rest mode. So the annoying part about that is, even though you're kind of cheating that card out, it's still going to cost 3 energy because you're paying 2 energy for this card and then you're paying 1 energy for the activate main. So it doesn't really feel like you're cheating it out in any way. But the reason why I'm running this card is for a package that I also have here, which is a small Skilless package, which I've decided to run. It's not to make the deck better in any way necessarily. This is just a little bit of fun that I've been messing around with because I think it's quite an interesting package to run, and when it pops off it feels really fun because you just get to drop a load of stuff on your opponent. So we're running 2 of the Skilless 3-drop 30k Majin Buus, 2 Childs, Greatest Pirate in the Cosmos, and a Janemba Bewitching Blow. So the reason why I'm running this is because you can stack your Skillesses into the energy off of your leader effect, and then play them from your energy with this 2-drop, or what you can do is you can add them to your hand from your energy off of the 1-drop that I was just talking about. And both of those plays facilitate each of these cards. So if you're playing it off of the 2-drop from your energy, you can then bounce it to your hand to play Janemba Bewitching Blow. And if you're adding it back to your hand, either off of Bewitching Blow or off of the 1-drop, you can discard it to play Childs. And then you can then swing with Childs, if the damage goes through, which most of the times it can't, but you can stack beans onto it to force your opponent to combo a load. If the damage then goes through, or even if you swing to a unison just to force the damage to go through, you then get to play this guy back out from your drop area, and then you can again facilitate the Bewitching Blow conditions to play Bewitching Blowdown. So this engine is really fun, and sometimes it pops off and it feels really good. And then even if it doesn't pop off, like, the cards are still pretty good standalone cards, other than Bewitching Blow. Bewitching Blow is what takes the most setup in the deck, but we're only really running one copy because it's limited, and also I feel like it's fine just to fit that in. And it's quite a fun engine to be running. And when it pops off, you just get so much advantage for effectively 0 energy. It's really nice. And then you can also do all of your, like, 7-drop plays on top of that. For the super combo lineups, I am running a 2-2 split of the Great Saiyaman and the Gotenks. The reason why I'm doing this is they both happen to be Sparking 5 super combos, so they are almost always live because your leader's bursting 3 every turn. But another reason is because one of them is a Son Gohan Adolescence and one of them is a Gotenks, so they are also facilitating your Majin Buu chains, and this is how I've managed to include 4 copies of each of Gotenks and their Gohan Adolescence into the deck. So it means that even if you're comboing these off aggressively really early into the game just to cycle your deck through, they're going to be still useful in the drop area because you can then slide them under your Majin Buus when they get played, and then you're able to obviously gain the extra effects. But it also means that if you're milling these cards off of your leader effect, which does happen quite a lot, they're still going to be useful in the drop area because you can eat them off of your Buu to gain the extra effects. And then for, like, standard generic blue stuff, I'm obviously running 4 Bean. We like to go hard and go fast in this deck, and so we're going to be untapping a lot of energy, and Bean just facilitates all the plays that we want to be making, so why not run it? It's also nice defensively, but most of the time you're just going to be wanting to use this card offensively to put down a load of pressure onto your opponent as much as you can. And then the last 4 cards I'm running is 1 Chilled's Army Reinforcements and 3 copies of Dimension Magic. I've gone really back and forth on this lineup a lot, and I've cut down on some of the Majin Buus to, like, up these cards, and then cut down on some of these cards to up some of the Majin Buus. I really don't know how I feel about this. The Chilled's, I really like Chilled's in the deck because it's a much more of a proactive negate, because you can keep taking your own life with it and still negate attacks and still get down bodies. But with Dimension Magic, if you're taking your own life, it doesn't really feel like you're negating an attack most of the time because you're still taking the damage. So the main reason that I'm running this Dimension Magic is for the Sparking 5 effect. So when your opponent is swinging into your battle cards, because they will probably be wanting to remove your board, especially once you have the 4-drop down spawning a bunch of tokens, you can Sparking 5, take the life and negate the attack. And so that's the main reason I'm running the D Magics, because Sparking 5 is almost always going to be live in this deck with your leader bursting 3 every turn. The main reason why I don't like 4 of this and why I was originally considering running 2 of this is because the untapped 2 is, like, completely useless in this deck. You're not making any plays during your opponent's turn except for these cards, and Senzu Bean you generally want to save for your own turn anyway, and then the rest of these cards you want to be taking life down to use their effects anyway, so the untapped 2 feels like completely useless. That's part of the reason why I've gone back and forth on 2 or 3 Chilled's over the D Magics. But D Magic feels nice just because you can take yourself down from 8 to 4 life, whereas Chilled's you can only take yourself down from 5 to 4 life. And like I mentioned earlier, you want to be awakening quickly with this deck if you can, because then you stop bursting and you stop decking yourself out. But that's pretty much the reasoning behind the negate lineup there. And that is the entire deck profile. I believe it comes to a clean 50 cards, like pretty much all of my decks do. I just like to go down to 50 cards as much as possible because it gives the most consistency with any sort of deck. Unless it's a deck like Slug Mill or the new Zamasu Wish deck, which kind of is forced to run 60 cards in certain states. But I hope you guys enjoyed the deck profile. Like I mentioned earlier, definitely follow my Twitch, but also subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed and liked the video. I always appreciate any feedback that you guys give me, so definitely feel free to comment down below and let me know your thoughts on this particular deck, or any interesting decks that you want me to profile in the future. And I'll catch you guys in the next video.